Yeah,
and it is
it
free, right?
is.
Like, it's like,
And it's so easy.
yeah.
It's so easy. I was like, dang. And I thought to myself, like, you guys are the first people that I've met that are sharing it and are like, hey, we have something that you can use and it is easy. Here it is.
So I guess in comparison to self-help or YouTube videos and books and counseling versus jumping into these videos, how would you compare the speed?
I would say it's almost incomparable just because of how much faster this was. We've been married for almost 14 years, together over 14, but we spent so much time going to therapy. And I mean, that was a huge time commitment on our part because it's at least an hour plus all the books and everything. And then it was like 4 weeks, right?
4 weeks
Of
of
the class. It's like just leaps and bounds. I mean, so I feel like it's not even comparable. This was just so much more fast paced. I don't know. It's incomparable. This was so much better.
And how did the speed affect your marriage and also your children, right? Like parenting and so forth.
I mean, even after week one, so week one of starting the course, we were already on the edge of our seat. We're like, tell me personally, I can't speak for Jack, but I was like, tell me, what am I supposed to do? I'm going to do it. So I was already on the edge of my seat week one. We started incorporating everything pretty much after that day of watching the videos. So we would leave class. I would immediately watch the videos that night and then start incorporating everything and just soaking everything in. I shared with the group that we had started praying with the kids. That was not something that we had done before.
Wow.
So we were still prioritizing our marriage. And also we had everything out of whack where the kids kind of came first. And then it was each other and then God. Like God was like barely on there. And now it's flipped where now it's God, it's us and then it's the kids. But we started incorporating everything really fast and the kids have noticed a change for sure.
How so?
Just because they see us doing our Bible study together, they see us watching our videos together, they see how we're talking to one another, they see how we're talking to them. Obviously, with 6 kids, it can get a little crazy sometimes. Our 9-year-old has said that we look like we really love each other. She
Wow.
knew we loved each other before, but she's like, I don't know, it's just like a different type of love. And
It's a
he's been
glow.
more, yes, and they do notice it. They all notice it.
Yeah, it's that glow of
Hmm.
Jesus that's
Yep.
radiating from the mirror marriage now.
Yeah. So beforehand, we had kind of made progress, but a lot of it was just putting band-aids over it. We didn't know how to progress any more than that. We went to therapy and it really was just putting a band-aid on it and how to not deal through it, but just deal with things.
Yeah.
Really, it just made us more passive, but then that was just kind of building more resentment because we weren't really getting anywhere. So it just felt like we were going in circles. So tension was just kind of building and we
Tensions got
weren't
built.
progressing.
Got it. Almost kind of like management school. Like when I was in therapy, that's what I noticed. It was great
Yep.
because it's like, okay, cool. At least it's kind of helping. We kind of feel like we're getting better, but it was
Right.
almost like management skills.
Yes. And honestly, when we went through therapy, and this is like I'm speaking for every therapist that I've had and every marriage counselor, they were almost more focused on, wow, how do you guys do it with 6 kids and him being in the military? Every time that we met with a counselor or a therapist, anything, they were always so more hyper focused on that we never got to work through any problems. And if we did get close to like talking about it, like we would talk about our problems, but I swear it would always revert back to how do you do it with 6 kids?
Yep. Yep.
And again, we got nothing figured out. It was more of a venting session and
Yeah.
just a third party hearing us out. That was it.
I guess in terms of that perspective of going through so many therapists and going through so many counselors, working with us, how do you feel like the growth was?
It was a night and day difference. I feel like what this hack offered us was an immediate fix. And I know that it's not meant to be an immediate fix, but you do see an immediate fix because now you have labels to put on things and you're like, okay, yes, that's how I grew up, but that's not how I have to be. I remember when we watched one of the videos and you talked about the boundaries and the stop signs. I was like, that's it? That's all like, why didn't anyone just tell me what behavior is normal? Because I grew up with so many abnormal things, like things being okay that were not okay.
Yep.
And so now I'm unlearning that, but I'm like, dang, all somebody had to do was say, hey, all you got to do is put boundaries up.
Yep.
And
And
I
then
might
how
have,
we put those boundaries up,
yes, therapists don't teach you how to do that. It's like
management.
coping.
Yeah, the coping.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. And I remember telling a therapist that I don't want to cope. tell me how we're supposed to move through this. And she was like, well, I don't know. And I said, so then why are we seeing you? If you don't know, why are we seeing you? It turns into just a venting session.
Heroic men and heroic women, right? Where you got to learn about the marriage standards, and then you learn about the 30 percenters, the 50 percenters, the 75 percenters, and the 100 percenters. Did that help open your eyes or break you free in a sense of being able to recognize where we are?
Absolutely, because it was a visual and I saw myself in every category. And, when you were going over it, 1 minute, I'm like, okay, we've been 30%. And then I was like, okay, we've been, 50, 75 or not. So, well, I don't, now I would say, we're above the 75, thriving for 100. Obviously, we know we'll never be at 100. Only Jesus Christ was at 100. But it represented a good visual, but it also like shows you like, hey, this is where you're at and this is why you're here, but you could be here. And so it made a difference because it was a visual representation.
How does the visual representation help guide you in your path or your roadmap to now where you have a visual plan as opposed to like we're just crawling up this hill never knowing when it's going to end?
For me, it's because now I'm the type of person that you need to give me something tangible to do. Having that visual, like now I know we went through the heroic women. I know the type of woman that I want to be. And as you were listing them out, I'm like, okay, done. The woman that I want to be doesn't argue with her husband. But mostly I was not mean to him. I wasn't condescending. I didn't undermine him. And I was like, ugh. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have that visual of what a heroic woman is. Yeah. So
and knowing where you want to be, like whoa,
yes,
I got to break the pattern if I'm trying to get there.
Yes, it makes you stop. And the stop signs, I'm like, okay, I don't want to get back over here. I don't want to be mad at my husband and drop down, below 75 and be on that line. So I'm like, checking myself where I'm like, okay, if I'm upset with him, I need to pause. The heroic woman that I want to be doesn't do that. So it was very helpful.
And how was that for your mom to see that? Or how do you think it was for her?
She would probably be scared. Like, wait, she didn't yell at you. She didn't make any snarky comments. Yep. Normally, I wouldn't tell him. I would just make really snarky remarks. And yep. I would be rude. I would be condescending. And so he was none the wiser. But after we had a conversation, he was mind blown because he's like, whoa.
Yeah,
normally he knows what to expect.
That's pretty cool that Jack got to see that and experience that as well. So I can't wait to hear his side.
And it was a fast turnaround time. I will say, like, I just finished the videos and I was able to implement it that fast.
Wow, that day.
I think I finished them on Monday, and this all happened yesterday, Tuesday.
Wow, that's so cool. Isn't it? Yeah. Doesn't it feel so rewarding when the growth is so fast?
Yes, very much.
In Heroic Men and Heroic Women, we saw the red line, right? How has that red line impacted your family and recognizing it?
So when I saw that and I saw everything on it, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been a victim of I've put myself in every single one of those positions. I shared with the group, like we were on the verge of divorce because of infidelity on my part. And I was on that red line. I was right there on the red line. And even in watching the video, Jack and I were like, dang, where was this a year ago? Because again, me having visually seen that, I was like, gosh, it's so easy. And also it allowed me to understand, like, no wonder it was so easy to cross that line, especially, with how I was mentally wired and how society, has us wired. It's so easy to be on that line and any little thing pushes you over the edge. And so seeing that, I was like, okay, it made sense. I won't allow that to happen again. And now I actually have the tools. There's a lot of things that I won't do that I used to think were okay. Dressing modest is one of them. Not talking to people of the opposite sex. I mean, there's been so many things that now that have clicked where I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought that was okay. That is clearly not okay.
Wow, isn't that cool? And it is free,
it
right?
Is.
It's like,
and it's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy. I was like, dang. And I thought to myself, like, you guys are the first people that I've met that are sharing it and are like, hey, we have something that you can use and it is easy. Here it is.
When you're like, man, we're here and now we're up here. Does it feel like you skipped the 50, the 75%?
100%. Yeah. Because we were fluctuating. We were in limbo. That's the best way to put it. We were in limbo. Now I know what kind of woman I want to be and how to do that. It's so, you don't even have to know how to implement any. Once you pick it out, you're like, oh, okay. And you've given plenty of examples where you're like, okay, if you want to be like this is what you need to do. And I'm like, that's so easy. I can do it. It's a little difficult, right? When we get in our own way, old habits die hard, but it's been easier to catch myself. I'm huge on self-help and self-growth and everything. And I've read so many books. And none of them fundamentally helped my marriage. It was me, like, kind of working on myself, but none of it. That's why I was telling you earlier, this isn't comparable, to therapy and to self-help books, because this is in a league of its own where we're not putting a band-aid on anything. It's like, okay, we're putting God first, and then this is what we need to do. And if you can follow that, you're on the right path. And so it does feel like we skipped a lot. Because like I said, I spent the last 14 years reading self-help books and crawling. And did I progress? Yes, absolutely. But nowhere near the last few weeks that we had together, the last 5 weeks that we had together. Because I'm telling you, even 4 months ago, 3 months ago, if Jack would have called me and we had the same scenario as last night,
Yeah.
I would have went off the deep end. I really would have. And because we're apart right now, it would have just been so much more amplified. The enemy would have had more to go on. But instead, like, I took what I knew, I implemented it, and I calmed down, and everything went great.
Wow. And how was the weekly meetings, the groups, the getting together, being able to share and seeing other groups grow, and also, being able to get your answers there? And
I think it normalizes everything, because we tend to think that we're alone in our thinking and our doing and what we're going through. And when you're in a group setting, you realize that no, you're not the only one. And you also get to speak freely. It never turns into that venting session like it does with therapy, or most therapy at least. And so you actually get solutions to problems. And because we're all there with an open heart, we're all able to help one another and, give each other solutions. Like, that's the best way to put it, is that being in a group was solution based, and it made a drastic difference being able to talk out loud and hear other people, and be able to have this open dialogue and open conversation.
and so
100%.
how does it feel putting Jesus first now?
It feels easy. Like, where I was coming from was definitely like an atheist and an agnostic, and it feels so much more easier than I could have ever anticipated or ever thought. And it also feels so right. Like, you fundamentally know that that is how it goes.
Once you
And
feel it.
everything's been easier. I have dealt with a lot of addictions, and just, well, again, going back to the hack that we did, it just shows you that you aren't your addiction. Therapists will tell you, oh, you've said it before, that you'll continue, that it'll always have this sort of hold, and that's not true when God is at the center of it. Yeah.
That's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Oh my
is.
gosh.
It's freeing. It's very freeing, because you're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't have the hold on me that I thought it did, or that society told me it did. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Not with God at the center of it.
And then all your friends and family members who grew up with addictions, just like you and I, right? They learn those same saying,
Right.
once an addict, always an addict, and so forth. And
Absolutely.
so they end up instilling it into us as well, right? So not only do
Yep.
we get it from our therapist, not only do we get it from the world, the textbook, but then our own friends and family are regurgitating it back to us. And so it becomes an identity.
Absolutely.
And it's like, no, it's not. This isn't true at all.
At all. At all.
That's the reason why God called us to do this, because of the fact there are people out there, but it's how can we get this to the rest of the world? When I learned it, and I spent so much money and so much time learning and just searching, like you, scrounging, but
Right.
you mentioned, like, the way we're programmed, the way we're wired, we only know what we know, right?
Right.
So we're looking for answers, and I use this analogy with couples all the time. Like, we want more out of our relationships. That's why we
Right.
because we're trying to lift each other up. So we want more out of our
Yes.
relationship, but we don't know what more looks like.
No, we don't. And there are people that are looking for it, like you and I. Like I told you, I soak up everything because I'm trying. Even I grew up really poor, and I knew I didn't want to be poor, but I didn't know how. I didn't know, so then I start reading books and I start growing. And even in that, I look around and I'm like, no one is sharing this information. But you know what? There's been times where I do share the information, but some of the family members are so, just like I was, where everything is so ingrained, they don't think there's a way out and they won't listen to you, which is why I'm like, having God at the center of it, I feel like that opens people's eyes a lot more.
And I think it's that shedding the light in those family members, because I have them as well, family members that won't listen. And it's two reasons. Number one, it's the Bible tells us it's pride and ego, right? So that'll keep us from wanting to grow. And then number two, it's just trapped. And that's what God showed me. God showed me that, hey, there's many people out there who don't actually have the pride and ego. They know they need help. They just don't know how. Right? Because I was one of them, and I was searching everywhere. And you start modeling these families that on paper they look good, right? And on the front lines they look good, but behind closed doors they are struggling with the same things that we were. And so I wasted years following those guys, thinking that was the model, and it was wrong. Stephanie and I, we really feel that God has called us to help free His people, right? It's like, hey,
Absolutely.
they don't have the pride. Sure, there are many people
Yep.
out there who have the pride and the ego that don't want to know about Jesus, but the ones who do just don't know how to. So go show them.
100%. Yep. That was us.
Yep, that was us as well. What would you want to tell the people in regards to Stephanie and our character and what you know about us?
I would say that everything that you guys talk about, it all comes from the Bible. It is all Bible based. That's where the answers are coming from. And you guys are both just putting it in a way that other people can understand. But everything that you've said and everything that you've taught us, we can go find in the Bible. It's just almost like a missing puzzle piece that you guys have given us, where now it's like, oh, okay, we can put it together. And when we were building the heroic women, for example, all of that is in the Bible. God tells us what kind of women we want to be, but sometimes it just goes over our heads. And we just need someone to be like, in simple terms, hey, here's a list, choose from it, but everything has come from the Bible. And I realize that now in hindsight. I was like, oh my goodness, like, because I've been reading the Bible every day. And I'm like, everything that you guys teach is in there. Because as an atheist, I used to think, oh, I'm a good person. I was so wrong. That ideology was so wrong. But but it just never occurred to me to ask a therapist where their values came from, because how are they going to show me, or how are they going to teach me? How are they going to guide me? And I have no clue where their values come from. Like, it is, I don't know. In hindsight now, I'm like, of course it should have been Bible based. Of course.
Do you feel
Yep.
that Stephanie and I carry the standards that we try to teach to people? As opposed
Absolutely.
to- yeah.
100%, like, no doubt about it. Absolutely. Just in the way that everything that you've told us, hey, this is what you should be doing, this is what you should be exhibiting, this is what you shouldn't do. I feel like you guys definitely do set that standard. And it is finally something that we can look at and say, okay, that's how we want to be. We don't have anyone else that we look to. No one else is anywhere near those standards at all. No,
And
sorry.
being able to see it, what is
Yes,
does that mean?
visually. That goes back to the visual thing, because it's not just a made up list. It's not you and Stephanie saying, hey, this is how you should be, and this is how you could be, but we're not doing that.
Right.
We're not gonna, because we see that you guys do support each other and you guys do everything together, and that there is this balance. And you can absolutely see that even when you guys are teaching. We can see how well everything flows, and you guys support one another, and the humility that both of you show to each other is easily seen. And you can also see that God is at the forefront of all of it.
What would you want to tell your old self or anybody else that's out there that trying to get help or trying to find answers? And what would you want them to know?
I would tell them that with God, anything is possible, and anyone can be redeemed. Anyone. I told you I was an atheist. I didn't believe in anything. I just knew life was hard. I guess I would tell myself, like, hey, there is a purpose for even all of the hurt and all of the pain and all of the the ugliness. Even though it doesn't seem like it, it is possible to get to a place where you have everything you want, you have everything you need, but you have to find God. And I would probably be mind blown.
So what would you tell anybody who's on the fence about joining the Ultimate Marriage Hacker, heroic men or heroic women?
I would say that you can't put a price on getting the right kind of help, and something that's been proven, that people are saying, hey, this is Bible based. This is putting God at the forefront. And I would tell them that it's worth taking that chance. If you've already tried other things, why wouldn't you just try this? Especially, we've all spoken candidly of the different types of issues that we've had, and now we're sharing that, like, we went from here, we went all the way over here, and we're striving to be 100%ers, but it actually worked. And I know anyone can say that, but the couples that you guys have mentored and that you guys have helped, we're all showing by our own actions. Anybody who's on the fence can look us up and see how we're doing, and see that it does work, it does help.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so Jack was with your mom in the car on speaker.
Yes.
Not you were in
Yes.
the car. Oh,
No.
cool.
So that's why I'm saying, so she had no clue what was going on my end, but
Yeah.
my tone was a little elevated initially. And then I was like, that's not the type of wife I want to be, especially if I know he's in front of someone.
Yep.
I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna embarrass him. I'm not gonna, belittle him. I'm not gonna do that.
Wow.
So I stopped and I brought my tone down, and I was like, okay, go finish what you guys are doing, love you. And he's like, okay. And you could hear my mom like, something's wrong. And like, I heard her say that. Yeah. And I thought about what I was going to text him. I texted him exactly what my problem was, like, what I was feeling. Of course, I swear I was tested, because he didn't read my text message for a few hours. And I would have been
Yep,
like fuming, like, oh, but I was like, it's okay. He hasn't read it yet. Once he does, I'm not going to rip him a new one because he didn't read it immediately. But it turned out fine. But that wouldn't have been something that I could have done because logically, don't yell at your husband, don't belittle him, don't do this, don't do that.
Yep.
But I was never able to do that before. So clearly, this hack worked.
Yep. Isn't it so cool? I shared it. There was another guy in my life group, a new guy in our life group. He's been there for a few weeks, Thursday.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his anger, right? And I look at Scott and I'm like, dude, he's just stuck on the red line, right? That anger.
Absolutely.
The anger. And that red line could be anything. It could be anger. It could be our addictions. It could be, our, just our bad habits, the disrespect for our wife or our children or whatever it is, right? It could be road rage, So that red line is anything. And I just said, look, he's just on the anger red line. He's walking along the red line. So anything pulls him off, right? And so I was like, if he just knew he could get away from the red line, back away from it, then he would realize, like, I got to get away from that anger this way, right?
Yes.
And so I shared it with him, and he said the same thing, like, oh my gosh, I never knew that I could just get rid of our anger and how to back away from the anger.
Yes.
Like, we know not to get angry. I just don't know how not to get angry.
Yep.
Yeah. So
now we do.
So cool. So cool.
Very helpful.